Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of JCC Real Talk. Today we have a special topic. It's called, can I be Christian and fashionable? Because this is a difficult question for a lot of people. In the series, in this podcast, we're going to be discussing a lot of stuff and stuff that are not always easy to grasp, but we hope that in our discussion we can put some light on it. And in today's episode, I'm not alone. I have with me help from Grace and also from Priscilla, who are young Christians like me, myself. And we will get started on this topic. So, guys, can one be Christian and fashionable? And what are usually the typical challenges we may face with fashion, maybe? Would you say?
Well, to answer the question, I would say yes, you can be Christian and fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have other challenges that you meet in a congregation. Maybe some of the styles that you wear at home or outside is, say, not allowed in church. And then you kind of have to start and switch it up so it can fit the image or the principles of the church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is like some of the challenges that we meet. And then you have the how to dress, like type of hair colors you can wear, what not to wear, how to wear it, and all of that.
Yeah. If we want to start lightly, Grace, for example, what are your guys' favorite place to shop? If we're gonna say that, if you're gonna go buy clothes, what's your first stop? Like, what's your favorite brand? Or what's your favorite store?
It really depends. Let's say if I'm buying clothes for school, then you have H&M is like my go-to. That's my go-to spot. And if it's weddings or parties, then there are like other sites that are not typical Norwegian sites, such as Zalando. And you have Nelly. I buy all my wedding dresses or anything party related in Nelly. And yeah, those are my spots.
Yeah. What about you?
It depends on what I'm getting. If I'm looking for, usually I only shop online.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm looking for something specific and I know that they have it in the stores like in town, I'll just go there and buy it. But I never go there to look for clothes. I just buy clothes online. Why
would you prefer to buy online than in the store?
Because after many failed attempts, I realized that it's a shorter process. I know that I will find anything that I want quicker online. Online, I can search for, blue sweatpants, this size. I'll find it directly and I can go buy it. Yeah. But if I go to town, I have to go to that store. Okay, they don't have it. And just to search all the stores to find out none of them have it. Yeah. So it's a shorter process and I know I'll find what I'm looking for, what I want.
So it's not that you don't find a look that you find, that goes with your values as Christian. It's not that, but you just don't like the style that is in the store. Yeah. Okay, well, in this topic, like, to understand the topic well as well, one question is, what is fashion? What would you guys say is fashion? Because we say, can I be a Christian and fashionable? I also answer yes, but then again, what is to be fashionable? What is fashion? What would you say?
For me, I think fashion is something that is personal. Like, you wear the things that makes you feel good and you feel pretty in it. And that is something that is you, that represents, okay, this is Priscilla. This is, how they are. So for me, that is what fashion is. Yeah.
What would you say?
I have the same definition, I would say, because it depends on the person. Some people don't have a difficult time finding clothes as Christians because maybe they by themselves, they just like dressing, I don't know, maybe what the church already approves of. But other people, they had to switch it up in order to be in line with the principles, as Priscilla said. So it can't be defined as something that applies to everyone.
Yes.
So it would just be individually, like, what do you like, what you feel comfortable in. That's fashion too.
Yeah. And obviously, like, when we were preparing for this episode and reading up to it, like you guys said, from the definition of fashion, they say it's actually a way of expressing yourself.
Yeah.
It's a way for you to express yourself, who you are, what you stand for. So it basically, our clothes speak.
Yeah.
Right? This can speak for us. You don't have to say anything. Your clothes will speak for you, right? And another thing, what was interesting for me, like maybe mind-opening when I was reading about it, I didn't really realize it before, maybe subconsciously, I don't know. But they said that fashionable, the standard fashionable, is actually set by the fashion industry. No one sets fashionable. It's the industry that decides what is fashionable, right? Yeah, it's basically, it's not you, but it's, let's say season 2010, the industry decide this clothing is going to be fashionable, and that's what they produce, right? But it's up to them. But what is the hard part then, if you are a Christian and you want to dress fashionable? What is the challenges? Because we know there are some. You mentioned congregation, but what even outside the congregation? Is there any?
Well, as I said, that fashion is fashion is something that is personal. So even though there are new trends, it's not necessary that I'm going to like those trends. So for me, it might be fashionable, but personally, I don't like it because it's not me. By using this type of clothes, it's not me expressing myself. So for me, maybe it's not fashionable. So it's different. When for example I shop, the first thing that I think of, okay, is this something that I personally will wear? And then the second thought is, okay, is this appropriate to wear in church, for example? So you have like those 2 steps that I do. Like, do I like it? Do I feel, would I feel comfortable in it? And then second, is this like something that will fit, or, Yeah.
But, okay, you mentioned earlier congregation as a place of challenge. What type of challenges would you say comes from congregation? So other Christians?
Yeah. So you have because everybody has, different types of bodies. For girls, there's not, okay, you cannot wear a dress that is too tight, and then you have to cover this part of your body and stuff like that. That's the comments that we get. Oh, you cannot be like a stumbling stone for others, or men specifically. And then so that is the main comments. That is for clothes. Oh no, your back, you have to cover your back, your arms, you have your legs, your knees, a lot of covering up. That is mostly what
and you've gone straight to the point. You're saying for girls, for women. So you saying that it's harder for a woman or for a girl to dress than it is for a boy or a male.
Yeah, I would say, because girls,
for Christians,
when it comes to church, in church service, yes,
because we get more comments about what we're wearing. You have how does the clothes fit your body, and then you have even the prints, like the pictures or anything,
the graphics on it,
the graphics on the dress or anything, they will comment on it, like how tight a dress or something sits, or if for example for Sunday, I don't know how it is now, but before, when I was younger, I wasn't allowed to use pants in church, like on Sundays. When I wore one time, and then I heard it, they pulled me aside, and then you cannot wear pants on a Sunday, some things like that. But like, I have 2 legs, like what is not obvious about wearing pants.
So basically there is church attire and there's outside attire.
Absolutely.
Right? But I'm asking, like, even in general, like, would you say that there's some clothes that, okay, so you said there's church attire and there's outside attire, but which one is hardest? Is it both are hard to dress outside church? Is it just as hard? Would you get judgment if you dressed with trousers outside?
Not at all.
Not at all.
They don't even comment on, like, oh, you're wearing pants. Not here in Norway, at least. I don't know how it is in other countries, but here there's nobody who's going to judge you because as a girl or a woman you're wearing pants. But in church, there might come some comments because there our moms, that is a older generation, you know, and how they grew up. A lot of them also went through the same things, and they're just kind of doing the same things to us. And then you have the part where you start asking questions. Okay, but why can I not wear pants on Sunday, for example? And that is where everything kind of, you know, stops. Okay.
Yeah. But is it so that you can wear pants on a Sunday, or you can't wear pants on a Sunday unless you have a certain, you know, service that you do? Because I see a lot of women in church on Sundays that do wear trousers or pants.
But now it has changed. But I remember, like, before you couldn't wear pants on a Sunday specifically, but now of course you can like wear a different type of pants. So you have a jacket, blazer, you cover up, then it's more normal, I would say, or more accepted. But before it was not at all. I remember everybody wore skirts. You know, if you came and you were wearing pants, then in a minute you would say they would pull you to the back, and then suddenly you come out you're wearing skirts.
But I think, like, for our viewers and those watching, okay, so we've established that there's one attire for church that's a bit apart, that's a bit different than outside. What about outside? Because we spend more time outside than we do in church, right? What is it? Can you be fashionable outside as well? Is it harder to dress outside of church also today? What would you say, Grace?
No, not for me personally. I don't think so. I don't have really a problem with finding the clothes that I like, and that will be that's just acceptable, I guess. So I don't think so.
Do you have any, like, do you feel like because you're a Christian, when you shop you have fewer alternatives?
Not for everyday wear, no. For dresses is hard because it has a high split or open back or one shoulder, or like you have to get it altered. But not for when I'm going to work or school. No, I don't notice the difference.
Yeah, because you mentioned that, okay, if you dress some type of way, your parents or other people in church might say something, right? Might say that it's not, you know, modest enough. Do you get the opposite from non-Christians telling you maybe that you're dressing too Christian, that maybe that you're covering too much? Is that something that can, you know, that they challenge you to, like, hey, why are you not cutting your short a bit, you know, shorter?
Personally, I haven't gone through like a situation where somebody's telling me to wear something shorter. It has always been, you know, the other way, that you have to wear longer t-shirts, longer dresses, or cover up this, cover up that. But like outside, like my style outside of school, outside of church is more laid back. I wear pants, like jackets, like, you know, comfortable, what I feel comfortable in. But I haven't heard, I don't know, but I haven't heard anybody say.
What about you? Have you felt it even like indirectly?
No, it hasn't happened to me personally, but it has actually happened to one of my friends that somebody told them like you're too modest, and she was like, "What?" So, it sounds weird, but people actually do that. Okay. Especially when it's summer. And it's hot. They're like, take something off. But it's weird that people do that, but they do actually.
Yeah. Boys or girls?
It was towards girls.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you hot? Like, why are you wearing so much?
Yeah. So if I understand right, among youth, there's not really that much of a pressure, but it's more our generation to the parents' generation, right? Yes. Because focus in church and for Christians in general is that, you know, we want to do everything that gives glory to God. That's the bottom line for like everything, right? That's your starting point, even in your dressing, even in your walking. And the Bible is pretty precise on many things and gives very detailed instructions on a lot of things. But when it comes to clothing, it doesn't give a detailed description, right? It doesn't say your skirt should be, 20 centimeters off your knees, or, but when you have to build the ark or the temple, it gives everything to the last inch. Precisely. But when it comes to clothing and how to dress, we actually just have one verse, which was, today's prep verse. in the 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. It says, I also want the women to dress modestly, with decency and propriety, adorning themselves not with elaborate hairstyles or gold pearls or expensive clothes, but with good deeds appropriate for women who professed to worship God, right? And the key verse is, of course, is that modest. But the thing is, he gives us a verse, a word to interpret. So the question becomes then, okay, what's modest? Or even what's not modest?
Exactly.
Because I heard a lot of people say modest, okay, modest is 20 centimeters off the knee, or modest is to the floor, or modest is no skin at all, or modest is cover your face, right? But I would like to ask the opposite question. What's not modest? What would you say goes too far? And that's for both boys and girls.
We have to say
what's too far.
Yeah, what do you mean is, because we have to interpret it, because it's not a precise word, right?
Think for yourself, like, what's too far for you? Like, where's boundary?
By the way, that's the camera woman speaking.
For me, it would be if I wear something that, okay, I feel, okay, this is maybe too much. I don't want to wear something this short, like something, okay, maybe I need to cover up. This is because I want to, not necessarily because somebody else told me I have to, because, first of all, I'm dressing for myself. And then, so for me, something that is not modest is that, okay, maybe I'm not comfortable wearing this skirt that is too short, or it's this type of way.
So modest has something to do with length.
Yeah, so basically it's I don't, maybe it's a personal thing. You have some people like, okay, it's okay if I wear something without, that is not covering my arms. So for me, it's okay. But for someone else, it's like, okay, maybe I don't find it okay that my arms are showing. So it's very different from people to people.
Yeah. So again, right? Different churches answer this question different. Different Christians answer this question different, because it's not a precise word. It just says modest, right? And with decency, right? That's what he says. But to some level, there has to be an agreement, right? It is there is some point where it is common for all of us that, okay, this is too much, right? For example, some churches might have a preference is, okay, that, wear a long sleeve or wear this, but that's not necessarily modest or not modest. But my question is, if we were to take the opposite question, what would we say? Because there has to be a point where we say that's actually,
well, you cannot wear a bikini to church. Like
that is
very.
For me, you know what? Go outside church for a little bit, because I always say you don't find Christians in the churches. You find Christian outside church. Everybody can come to church. Everybody can raise their hands and say hallelujah, right? But it's, you are actually Christian when you leave the church. Outside the church, that's your Christian life. That's your, you spend what, 2 hours, 3 hours on the okay, maybe 4 hours in our church on a Sunday, and then at school or work you're there 8 hours, 10 hours. That's your real life. But even outside now, we're going to work or you're going to the university. What's not modest? What would we say is too much according for a Christian and God-fearing person? What is too much? Or what is not modest? If there is at all, or it does everything go?
I think maybe for a Christian, what you wear outside of church, it should be like, okay, I can not be as liberal as a non-Christian. Like, okay, they can wear anything and practically be naked walking, but I cannot do that. That could be, something that is you think about when you're outside of church. But other than that, what I find easier is when you use a biblical reference, because now when we're talking, it's more, okay, this is my personal preference.
Yes.
But if you kind of personally see, okay, what do I think God wants me to do, then it's more easier to kind of find the right way, because now it's more like, okay, I like this, she likes this, she can wear this, she can wear this, I can do this, and then we're all just saying what we like, what we want. So if we just think, okay, what would God want? How do we think? As you say, how can we glorify God through how we wear? Then it's more easier to kind of have like a compass, to find out, okay, maybe this is okay, maybe you think more about what you're wearing. But if we're just speaking in general, because a lot of how mothers, when we ask them, especially when I ask, okay, but why can't I wear this? The reason, they always respond with, oh no, so that you are not a stumbling stone for someone else, or siren this, siren that. It's never about how to glorify God. It's more about, somebody else's, to prevent somebody else to sin. So then for me, it's not, why should I, do this because and not because when we're talking about God. He's like the first
focus,
person. He's the focus here. So why, when you answer me saying that siren, the mermaids dressed like this, first of all, how do you know that they're dressed like that? But it's like,
if they dress at all.
Yeah, exactly. So this is how they dress, or don't be a stumbling stone for the people here. And then for me, it's just, you're just telling me to not dress like I want because of someone else, and it doesn't do anything, because I would say, but I don't care. That's what my response is going to be. I don't care.
What about you, Grace? Is there something that you say is like, okay, instead of defining what's modest, what would you say is not modest?
What's not modest? It's a bit hard, because it's like she said, what do I think? What am I comfortable with? Okay, this is not modest. To me, if I am going somewhere, if I'm going to a party or whatever, and I feel like I have to like pull my dress down, and I'm like uncomfortable trying to like find a blanket that I can like put on myself, then I feel like, okay, so that's too much. I don't really like short dresses, so that for me would be or short things like shorts and stuff like that. So that for me would be not modest, I guess. But when it comes to when you go out and what do people think when you're at work and when you're in kindergarten and blah blah blah, I think it depends on what country you live in too.
Yes.
Because in Norway, you have to be wearing like underwear for it not to be modest. It's quite liberal. You can wear what you want. Yes. So they don't have any restrictions. Boundaries. Or like in America, people get sent home for showing their shoulders or having So we don't have it like that here. Yeah. So so when you go out, I feel like I don't really think about it because it's so liberal.
And I agree. I mean, it's not an easy question. And since it's not defined, that's why I think a lot of churches and congregations, communities of faith, wanted to put their own standard because it's not defined, right? So maybe a lot of churches would say, okay, in our church, we dress like this. We have long dresses to the knees or past the knees, or some even like has to touch the ground. Or some churches say, in our church, women needs to wear, long sleeves only, and they define a standard for that community, right? But that doesn't mean that if I'm from that community and I go to another church or I see some other people dress with shorter and I say, oh, that's not modest, right? Or that's not Christian. Exactly, I can't say that because it's only for our church. It's only for our community. We have set that standard, right? It's not that anything is, imposed. Like you said, culturally, if there's a lot of ways we accept that would be, for example, completely forbidden in the Arab countries, because you're supposed to cover your hair. You're not supposed to show your hair. And I know even some Christian communities don't even allow people to wear makeup, right? Or wear earrings, because they take this verse very far and say, oh yeah, no elaborate hairstyles, no gold, no pearl, nothing, so no makeup, right? So, but I have another interesting question for you, because I'll come back to that one. There was a study, one theologian, he sent a survey to Christian men in multiple churches, in multiple countries, not just America, but everywhere. And he asked just one question. And this is the question. In your opinion, which of the following items of female dress cause a real potential for lust? And then he lists the items: short skirts, tight skirts, slit skirts, long skirts with slits to the knees, sleeveless blouses, low-cut blouse. This was the long list of items or clothes, and he sent it out to multiple people. What do you think they answered?
Well, the last one was bikini something,
Bathing
right?
suit,
Bathing suit, I
like
think.
bathing
Or tight
suit,
shirts,
like
tight
in
skirts.
like on a Sunday or like in general.
Huh?
In general.
In general.
In
Okay.
general.
Of course, it's probably the one with less, covering.
Yeah.
Bathing suit
suit.
or a skirt.
Short skirt, I think.
Short skirt.
I think they
Either.
said all the above.
You know what?
Probably.
You know what?
of them.
I have some of the response listed here.
Okay.
One man said, I believe that all you listed
Of course. Of course. There's always that one person.
has a cause for potential lusts.
Oh, jeez.
And another person said, I think all of the item listed can cause lust. The bottom line for me is that anything that is form-fitting, exposing, sheer, or clinging to a woman is immodest and can cause men to lust. That was one person, two people. Sorry, but here I can say what the resume is about, like each and everything. They say the following. That's the findings of this study, at least. They say the following: that short skirts and short dresses and shorts, they hold a very potential lust for men. They say the higher up a woman's leg, the more lustful, tempting it becomes. That's what some say. And keep in mind, I didn't find anyone with women talking. I only found one with men talking.
Yeah.
And another one said the other group is tight clothing in general. Anything that's like form-fitting is at least as much potential for men as skimpy clothes. You know what? When I was prepping for the show and I was reading this verse, right?
Yeah.
It says women to dress modestly, but it also means men as well to dress modestly. I want you to dress modestly, and I was like, okay, but what did he actually mean, right, with modest? Because he also talks about, in the same context, he also talks about like you have to care more about the inside than the outside.
Exactly.
Right? You have to care more about how you look on the inside than on the outside. And he says modest, and modest is a word that's very close to being humble, right? Be humble when you dress, and humble people or being humble has one main characteristic, and is that you think of other people, right? So just like you said, when you pick your clothes, you're thinking of God, but you're also thinking of the next person, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Because if we think back to the one big instruction that we have in the whole Bible is love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor like yourself, right? So even in your dressing, he said, just be modest, be humble about it. So it means like, I think the difference is maybe if you're non-Christian, you go to a store, you pick a clothes that you want to, that makes you feel good, that, that's maybe centered around just yourself, right? But if you take this verse into appliance, but he's just asking, when you dress, don't just think of yourself. When you dress, think about that you're also God's daughter, right? Think about you're also God's son. Think about, the context that you're going to, and also think about other people. And let me say this, I'm married. There's some clothes my wife doesn't like, right? I just, I had my wardrobe. She had her wardrobe. We got together. And there are some clothes, they're not bad, right? But I know she hates it.
Yeah.
So when I'm going to, when I'm going to dress, and I consider her, right? I consider her thoughts, and you know what? I'm not putting this on, because I'm thinking of her. I live in community with her. So because like we said, this you can dress modestly and still be a bad person. You can dress modestly and have a bad heart. You can dress modestly and still seduce people. Right? You can do that. So it's not about so much to focus on the actual clothing, but I think like when you do dress, because let's say this, you live with your mom, or you live with your family, your brothers, your sisters. There's some clothes that you can wear among them. But at the moment where your uncle comes to visit, right? Your uncle comes to stay in your house, or you have someone else come to stay in your house, then that clothes that is completely fine is no longer fine.
Exactly, changes up.
Right? Because you have to take consideration, okay, my uncle's here, right? I think that would be the modest thing to do, the humble thing to do, that before we pick a clothes, before we buy it, we just like, consider the Lord and consider.
And also, as you say, it could be, and then advice is that dressing modestly doesn't necessarily say that you are super Christian.
Yes.
Or the other way, it makes you less Christian, you know?
Yes.
So,
It's the heart. It's the heart.
It's in here. So,
It's the heart. All right, I think we're going to close up today's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It was really good. Thank you for coming with your opinions. And we hope that our viewers were blessed, and we hope that you took some lessons from it. And we don't know everything, so maybe you have some points. Make sure to subscribe, make sure to press the like button, and make sure to leave some comments. What are your thoughts? We want to know from you as well. And if you have some questions, post them on, and we will try to take it up on the next episodes or so. And yes, we will see you next time. God bless you.